What's going on, guys? Today we're back with another video, and today I'm pretty excited. We're going to be showing you guys exactly how to make your own custom drop-in waterproof dry hatches. So these are from Nate. As you guys can see, I've got a bunch of stuff laid out. I'm going to go ahead and go through this real quick to show you guys exactly what you're going to need to do this. So starting out, you're going to need some brazing rods. Here we have some aluminum weld rods from Harbor Freight. I think these are like 16 bucks. You get a bunch of them. I went through two. I think two is all you're going to need. You might be able to get away with one, but I was practicing on some stuff and I needed a second. You're going to want a MAP gas torch. That's the other thing. You don't want propane. It doesn't burn as hot, and it's going to take a lot longer for your aluminum to actually heat up, and you're going to be sitting there for forever. So unless you're sitting in like 100-degree weather right now, I highly recommend going with MAP gas. Either way, just spend the little extra and get something that'll make your time a little bit better. Right here, I've just got a pair of needle nose pliers if I need to adjust something. You don't want to touch hot metal. Obviously, you need a tape measure. I've got a lighter to start that. You want a hammer to, again, reposition stuff a little bit. Just give it nice little taps. You want something to measure a right angle. I just use this little thing. It works well enough. There's probably a better tool for it, but that's what I use. You're also going to want a bunch of metal clamps. So sometimes, unless you're on like a super extremely flat surface, butting this stuff up at a 45-degree angle, which I'll show you guys how to do, can get kind of tricky sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't like to cooperate. So having like a clamp that you can go ahead and use around these and it won't completely destroy them is super important. You guys can see, you know, don't be afraid to get them burned or anything like that. Like, that's going to happen. So get yourself some, you know, maybe not so nice clamps that you're willing to use for this project, because you're going to need them. Then you're going to want these 1-inch piano hinges from Nate Eckhold. You can go ahead and get them in the link in the description, as well as all of his other aluminum products that you're going to see in today's video. In this video, we're going to be making a 16 by 20 hatch. This is like a perfect size hatch for tackle, and it's going to be one of my main tackle hatches. And it's just a good size to go ahead and show you guys. I've got some other lids that I got to do. We've got some lids already done and stuff, but yeah. So this is going to be what we're doing today. And then there's this, the most important part, the thing that puts this entire system together. We've got Nate's custom extruded dry tracks. So these things are pretty dang cool. You guys can see they're 1.5 inch on the top. Then you have a nice little drop, and it creates this perfect lip that when butted up together ends up looking like this. So you guys can see this is just a scrap piece. That's why there's like a cut in it. But it comes out looking real nice. Real nice. And basically your hatch is just going to go ahead and sit in there. And then it also creates a place that you can go ahead and put your hinge in. So this is a complete all-in-one system to get perfectly dry hatches, which is why this is so cool. Now, if you're looking at all this and you're like, hey, maybe this is a little too much for me, there is an option for you. You can still go ahead and get this exact same thing custom welded from Nate. So he will go ahead and weld these up for you and send them out to whatever your needs are and however many you need. So you guys can either order off the Tiny Boat Nation website or check in with him on Facebook, and he'll get you all situated. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to want a miter saw that cuts aluminum. So whatever blade you have, you're going to want one that cuts nice and smooth, because you don't want any burrs or anything on the sides. You know, you just want a nice clean cut. If you're curious what blade I'm using this from Home Depot. It comes in a 2-pack for like 40 bucks. And I've been using it for a little bit now, and it cuts flawlessly. So that's the blade I'll be using, and I'm just using a cheap miter saw. This is a 10-inch, so you don't need anything crazy. Just make sure you got eye protection and ear protection, because aluminum will start to go everywhere. But enough talking. I think I've got everything kind of laid out there for you guys. This is pretty much all you're going to need to do this, to actually make the hatches, and I'm sure, you know, a lot of this stuff you already have if you're building the whole boat like this. I'm going to go ahead and set the GoPro up on like a tripod or something. That way you guys can get the whole view of me working. And let's get into it. Alright guys, so it's time to go ahead and measure and cut our dry tracks. So this is what the dry tracks are. This one's cut, but it's not for this. So I've got to cut all 4 still. But the way I do it is I like to take a measurement. And keep in mind, guys, I am doing turf. So if you're doing carpet, you're going to need a greater gap. And these measurements I'm kind of giving you right now will not work. So just keep that in mind. So I like to go ahead and measure my hatch. So this comes out to be a little over 19 inches wide. So what that means is the dry tracks piece that we don't want it to be right up against it. We want a little bit of a gap. That way water can actually get into our tracks and flow. And also you can put some other stuff. You just need a little bit of a gap is what I'm trying to say. So with that gap, you're going to want it to be about 1/4 inch on each side. That's what I've been doing because your hinge that you use, this comes out to be about 1/4 inch when it's all said and done. So if you go ahead and put that spacing on each side, you won't have to worry about anything being the wrong size. It'll all just be even and very square. So that's the gap I've been going for. You want at least like a 3/16 inch gap, so 1/4, just make it easy. Alright, so once you get your measurement, mine comes out to be a little over 19 inches. So what I'm going to want to do is I want to make it about 1/2 inch longer. And the place I'm cutting from is this piece right here, if you can see that. So like right here is what you're measuring from. So like if I was to cut a 19 and a half, a little over a 19.5 inch piece right now, I'd measure from right here, and I'd go and I'd cut, you know, at 19.5 inches over here. That's how you go ahead and measure that. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about measuring here. So we're going to go ahead and get these two cut. I will show you guys that. You do need the miter saw like I was saying. And basically, also, so this is your dry tracks right side up. You're going to need every corner to be 45 degrees going in. You don't want it going out because otherwise your hatches, you know, there'll be no way for them to go together. So just in case, you know, someone needed to hear that, there's that. So I'm going to go ahead, put some headphones in, and get to cutting these. Quick tip, after you guys have cut one, like for one side, so this is the first one for one of my long sides, what I like to do is I like to go ahead, line it up over here, get it all, you know, flush, and then line it up, you know, so that way it's the exact same length. And then as you guys can see, you've got two perfectly even pieces, and I'll go ahead and do that exact same thing for the two side ones. And the side ones are the exact same measurement because your hinge is a 1/4 inch wide. You don't need the gap on that side, but then you'll have your gap on this side. So it all works out perfectly. That's why I like to do that 1/4 inch gap. So just go ahead and measure this length and then do the same thing that I explained for these ones, and you will have a perfectly gapped hatch for turf. Now if I had to guess, you probably want about double for carpet. You want it like a 1/2 inch gap. So if that helps you out, test it. That's not like the 100% right thing to do, but if you're doing carpet, I'm assuming you're going to want a 1/2 inch, so you're going to have to cut an extra inch on each side if that makes any sense. But we're doing turf, so this is what we're doing. Okay guys, so I've got it all hooked up. You guys can see the 3 clamps going on. We've got one holding this piece, one holding this piece, and then 2 holding them together right where I need it at a 90-degree angle. And the way I'm actually going to start with these brays, with, you know, me brazing, is I'm actually going to start right here in between this clamp and the corner. So I'm going to start here, work my way up, finish this, and then at the very end, while it's still hot, I'll go ahead and take this off and finish it. That way I don't have to reheat it all the way back up. But that's the best way I found to get a consistent, you know, good, you know, coating on there of the stuff, and it just works the best. So we're going to go ahead, get this lit up, and I'm going to show you guys on the GoPro what's going on. Alright guys, so you kind of want to wait until it gets, like, you can touch it and the rod starts to melt. That's how you know you're at the right temperature. And then what I like to do from there is your seam, I like to cover that real quick, so I get that. And then I kind of just go back and forth with it, get a nice coating. Alright, and that's good for that part. Now we just gotta finish this, so I just take this off. Here is the final product after we got it all brazed up. You guys can see it's still hot. I actually just finished, but that's what it's gonna look like. So the one thing you might have to do is you might have to shave this down a little bit, this stuff, that way it mounts more flush, but other than that, it'll be just fine. This is really good. Now you just want to go ahead and repeat that 3 more times. The way I like to do it is I'm going to put this piece to the side, and then I'm going to grab the other 2 pieces. I'm going to put those together just like this one, and then at the very end, because I made them all 90-degree angles and they're all the same length, it'll match right up, and then I can just do that. So that's what I like to do, so that's the way I do it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead, get that done. And here we have it, perfectly fit. You guys can see all of our spacing is pretty dang even. We even threw a hinge in there. This isn't the hinge for this specific hatch. It's actually for one that's the same size, but I just didn't feel like cutting another one right now. But basically all you're going to do is just cut it to the length of this, and you're just going to rivet it to both sides, and that's going to do your thing. Now, if you are doing EVA foam, that's why I'm not putting these in right now. It is going to stick up a little higher. That way it won't bind. If you're doing carpet, you don't have to worry about that as much. You can run it more flush. But I am waiting because I don't know how thick the EVA foam I'm getting is yet. But it is in there for spacing and everything, and it definitely turned out pretty good. You guys can see from the top, you couldn't even tell it was brazed together. It looks like it's just being held together quite perfectly. So, you know, came out great. Gonna create a great seal. There's underneath of it. Got the perfect 1.5 inch length just to be ready to drop in, framed in extremely easily. So, like I said, this is my second tackle hatch. I've got another one right there already made. We've got a rod locker one there. We've got a live well lid. We've got a back hatch lid. We've got a couple more lids. So I've got to do this a couple more times. Actually, I have to do this 4 more times, and then we're done. So I'm going to show you guys that one. That's how you do it. It came out great. But yeah. I'm really excited to be running these in my boat, and it's going to be sweet because one is going to save me a ton of headache on framing and decking, because this is almost a 2-in-1 deal. Like, I'm going to have to use some sheeting to go ahead and finish my decking, but for the most part, these hatches are going to take up a ton of the room and do a lot of the work for me. So that's the awesome part about these. And then you also don't have to deal with any wood. It's perfect. Keeps everything flush, good, and perfect. Alright guys, that is going to go ahead and wrap it up for us today. I thought the video turned out great. We're already working on new ones, but you know, we're just getting started. You guys can see we're just putting them together, and then the next video we'll actually be starting to frame this boat. So we're getting into the interesting stuff. I'm really excited. I'm super pumped to actually frame this thing. I think it should go really quick as well as be really fun to do because of this new system. It'll make things a lot easier. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and start getting pretty far on this thing in the next couple days. So if you guys want to stay tuned, which I highly recommend, follow the build, please comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.